Earth 300 million years ago. Earth has had a lot of ups and downs since its birth. In one period it was hell, and in another period it was frozen like a snowball. And in one period the cauldron reigned continuously for 2 million years. And of course, in a period that all members of Dark Fat Canal should know, all the land was bound together to form one big landmass called Pangaea. Apart from this land, the rest of the earth had a large ocean called Pangaea. On the land of Pangaea, there were animals. When we say ancient animals, everyone's mind goes to the dinosaurs or mosasaurs or titanoboa. But dinosaurs and his friends have recently set foot on Earth. The Pangaea period is much older than the era of the dinosaurs. That is, about 300 million years ago, and it still takes 60 to 70 million years ago for the first dinosaurs to be found. But we don't want to talk about dinosaurs. We want to know what was going on before them on Earth. The era before the dinosaurs is called the Permian. The Permian era began about 300 million years ago. The Permian began exactly after a long glacial period in which the Earth was like an ice ball over millions of years, and when the Earth got warmer and the ice began to melt, the Permian era began. The melting of the ice caused the life of various animals to form on Earth. In the early Permian period, the average temperature of the Earth was 4 degrees Celsius, which can be said to be the lowest temperature. By this point reached 4 degrees from much lower temperature and is getting warmer every year. At this time, when the air is almost cooled, there's a little oxygen in the ground. The more the ice melted and the warmer the air, the more plants grew and the oxygen density gradually increased. The passage of time increased the conditions for the life of various organisms. Land conditions were improving, but volcanoes were also active in abundance. Most of the lights that are off now were very active at that time. The ash from these volcanoes spread over the surface of the earth, and the plants of those areas began to change, moving towards the better. It can be said that these ashes caused the growth of plants, because before we didn't have plants that lived long and they would die early. A type of aquatic beast called a blue bear at this time was 8 million years past its life, even in difficult and severe circumstances. That's why this creature has been dubbed the world's toughest creature. Around this time, early beetles appeared on the ground that were not like today's beetles, and were at least 9 to 10 centimeters long, considered large beetles. One of the coolest animals that lived during the Permian period was Dimetrodon. At first you think it's some kind of a dinosaur, but no, it's a mammal. It was 5 meters long and weighed 230 kilos. There was also something resembling a sail on her spine. Scientists say that the sail was designed to cool the animal like a radiator and keep it warm at night. The mechanism of the sail was designed to retain heat and, on hot days, not allow heat to reach the body of this creature. But when it got cooled, it would transfer heat to the existing body. We thought radiator was invented recently by mankind, but apparently existed 300 million years ago. This mammal is a predator and was considered the largest predator of the Permian period. The Permian period lasted about 50 million years. From 300 million years ago to 250 million years ago. About 270 million years ago, an interesting reptile called Lycaenapes set foot on the ground, which was a carnivorous reptile, and you could say it was a small dinosaur, because it was only 1 meter long but loved meat and killed to attack and hunt him any animal he saw. As we said, the weather was getting warmer year after year. About 270 million years ago, there were still 20 million years of Permian life left and the air was extremely hot. The Earth's average grade had reached 25 Celsius. You might say to yourself that 25 degrees is a good temperature, but remember that it's average. Currently, the average degree of the Earth is 50 degrees above zero. So an average of 25 degrees is too hot. That's why there wasn't a North and South Pole and it was hot everywhere. The best living conditions belonged to creatures that lived in the waters. Favorable living conditions increased the number of aquatic animals every day. That's why the early sharks were born. Better to know that sharks are one of the oldest creatures on Earth that haven't changed much. Sharks of the Permian era were not much different from today's sharks. During the late Permian period, about 260 million years ago, there was a small reptile on Earth that had a large population. This creature was called Lysteresis. It was one-meter reptile that was herbivorous, and the reason their population increased was that the ground was covered with plants at the time and these had a lot of food at their disposal. The ancestors of rats are here, Cynodont. It was 1 meter long. Imagine seeing a rat 1 meter long. What is your reaction? He ate whatever he could get, both plants, smaller animals, and insects. We have reached the last 10 million years of the Permian period, that is, between 260 million years ago and 250 million years ago. At that time, volcanoes were cooking the earth. They spread so much and smoke and ash that the oxygen was drastically reduced. Scientists calculated by the late Permian period there was less than 10% oxygen in the air. Currently, 21% of the air we breathe is oxygen. If we want to experience weather like that time, we must first conquer the summit of Everest, because at the highest point of Everest, oxygen reaches 7%, which a human cannot sustain. Billions of years have passed since the Earth has lived, and many times have come and gone. The Permian era ended with a life of 48 million years. There came a time when these volcanoes reduced oxygen so much that 90% of the animals became extinct, but those that lived in the water survived. The revolution that took place during this period is called the Great Dying, because it was the largest extinction in the history of the planet, and so far it has not happened that 90% of the world's organisms went extinct at the same time. Either way, as we said, volcanoes suffocated the earth and killed most of its creatures. The Permian era ended and the Triassic era began. Early Triassic era Earth had been destroyed and all creatures were wiped out. Only a few creatures were left on land and some in the water. This situation took 5 million years to get to 245 million years ago. During this era, the volcanoes were extinguished and oxygen increased and organisms and plants grew a lot. During the same era, the first dinosaurs arose, evolved and remained the rulers of the earth for up to 180 million years. 180 million years is a big figure. For all it claims, man has set foot on earth for less than 3 million years. What do you think human extinction will look like?